Happy Saturday to you. Happy Saturday to each and every one of you. I want to hang out for a second, and it's been quite the day. It's been an incredible day today. I mean, on so many different levels. It's been incredible for several weeks. I mean, since the George Floyd murder by the police, the intensity and the temperature has continued to rise. I mean, the global warming has increased, but not because of the fracking and the disregard for the environment. The climate, the temperature, the heat that we are experiencing now is due to social unrest, and we have to lay it squarely on the shoulders of the police. Everything you see happening right now as it relates to this social upset, this current social upset, is laid squarely on the shoulders of the police. Now, that might be hard to hear, but it's a fact. It's a fact. Now, today was a powerful day. I don't know if those of you who are watching are familiar with Juneteenth. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Juneteenth. And Juneteenth is a celebration. Juneteenth is a celebration. However, Juneteenth is also rooted in injustice. It is. And I can tell you, for those of you who know anything about Juneteenth, I can bet you a dime to $1,000, the ones that were holding the enslaved Africans, even after the signing of what's known as the Emancipation Proclamation. Emancipation means to free from your hand, but not your control. Like for example, you don't hear like the founding fathers saying things like, "Give me freedom or give me death." They call for liberty. So whatever liberty is, I want liberty. They didn't say, "Give me emancipation or give me death." Emancipation, free from your hand, but not your control. Well, I guarantee you, in Galveston, Texas, when General Gordon Granger came in to alert the individuals that they were free and they had been working the crops overtime, maybe 4 more harvests, it was the police that were keeping them in check. Now, I don't know if that makes sense to you. I don't know if it makes sense, but I better hit you with the trigger alert and we'll get deeper down into the weeds. This is a show that triggers people because you've entered a free think zone. If you're not willing to be exposed to other points of view, tune out now and don't read the comments. You have been warned. The police are a problem right now, and the world is seeing it. And the only people that don't see it is the police as an institution. I mean, there are individual officers and sheriffs and chiefs, etc. They're individuals that want change, but the system of policing, the system refuses to change. And if you are a police chief, if you are a sheriff, if you are on law enforcement, the system will remain long after you have retired. The system will remain long after you have retired. So don't get into this conversation about this is a good police chief, this is a good sheriff, this is a good officer, because what you're talking about is individuals, and individuals will always change. The system is what's fighting to remain the same. The system is what's fighting to remain the same. Now, as I was enjoying minding my own business here at the Cultural Center, there was this wonderful Juneteenth parade that went down Welton and right across the Cultural Center, because you know I'm still physically distancing and I am not in and amongst the crowds. We'll talk about that at another time. I am watching things as they're moving, and it's been an interesting vantage point. Incredible Juneteenth parade, and it was filled with folks who were calling for the respect of Black lives. There were throngs of people who were calling for things like abolishing the police. There were signs that said, say their name, and there were leaders like the young bull, Tay Anderson, leading thousands of people through 5 points. Thousands of people through 5 points. I had a chance to talk with Senator Michael Bennett. I had a chance to talk with School Board Representative Jennifer Bacon, who's also running for a seat in the House of Representatives at the state level. I had a chance to say hello to the great Joe Neguse, the freshman congressman who's giving them all they can handle. I was able to say hello to our Congresswoman, Diana DeGette, and throngs of others in the name of Juneteenth. And what they were celebrating as a victory over slavery is paradoxical, because the slavery is still consisting and persisting in the way of policies that don't want to change. And maybe a mindset. I took a deep breath, and then hundreds and hundreds later that evening came down Welton again. It's like I have a window seat to this struggle, to this current movement. And there were hundreds and hundreds of cars that went by, and it was a different rally, and it was organized by groups like Denver Homeless Out Loud and some others, and they were talking about the rights of homes and suspending rents and respecting Black bodies. I said to myself, this is a powerful moment. Then I was talking to one of the elders, and I won't say the name, but you all have heard about the Black Panther Party, and there was a Denver chapter of the Black Panther Party, and it was established by Lauren Watson, and that organization was put together to really stop the police abuse of Black bodies. Black bodies. And I was talking to one of the former members, or one of the founding members of the Black Panther Party. And, you know, again, I'm not going to say whom or whatever, or identify them, because they're still out, and I'm not saying they're doing anything, but there are a lot of stories that aren't told, and a lot of folks don't know where to look and don't even know the questions to ask. But anyway, this particular individual said, Brother Jeff, thank God for body cameras. Thank God for body cameras and cell phones, because now people are seeing what we went through as members of the Black Panther Party in our community all the time. I've been choked out I've been had restraint. They called that checking for the dope. He said they call that checking for the dope. That's the excuse they would use to grab you around your neck and say things like, spit it out, let me see what's in there. Checking for the dope in the name of giving you them a reason to play around with your neck. But with all that being said, having these wonderful conversations, and then I get this text, and then I'm telling you that you all are probably a lot further ahead of this story than I. But let me text from my brother in Atlanta. This is from my brother in Atlanta. And this is in all caps. They killed another Black man this morning here in Atlanta. City about to go crazy. And look, they killed another Black man this morning here in Atlanta. City about to go crazy. I talked to my brother in Atlanta this morning, and he wasn't even familiar with the killing that took place this morning in his city. And then he was alerted to it later today, and then text me later than that. Apparently, Atlanta is about to go down. Why? Why? Because in the midst of a national emergency, a national explosion, white cops still can't figure out it's not the time to be killing Black bodies. Can't figure it out. Can't figure it out. Can't figure it out. I'm seeing great organizing everywhere I turn around. Somebody is organizing something. And to all of you organizers, this is your moment, and you're doing a great job. To every one of you organizers, to every one of you participants, and to every one of you who are fighting for justice, I've had an opportunity to just observe in awe of everything that you're doing. I'm talking about in awe. Like there's some folks that are out here saying, they're not doing anything, they're not making a difference. And I'm like, those people who are saying those things, they're either one, jealous or envious of the work that particularly these new generation of organizers and leaders are doing. They're haters, or they're locked into an old way of doing things. Whatever the old way of doing things is around organizing, that ain't the way today. There will be no marching arm in arm talking about we shall overcome. And by the way, there were a lot of organizations, organizations, leaders, and individuals that were doing this work long before we shall overcome. They'll lock you into 1963 and in Washington, D.C. on that monument and have you quoting, I have a dream from here till the next 1,000 years. Martin Luther King was not the only Black leader, and that movement was not the only movement in the annals of organizing and history. You're in a new moment, you're in a new movement, and as a matter of fact, since the March on Washington, there have been a flood of movements and organizings and organizations that have come about since then. Today is another one of those moments, and those who are hating on this moment, it's because they're either stuck in another way or they're just in the way, because change is here, and you can see that this nation and this world is giving birth to justice. You can't see that. You can't see that in the daylight with a flashlight, that the world is giving birth to justice right now. I was into a conversation with someone who was telling me something like this: stop saying that things are going to change because nothing is going to change. And I'm saying, why would you wake up and be an activist, and why would you protest, and why would you be engaged in social activism if you believe nothing is going to change? Like, if that isn't like some dinosaur kind of thinking, As a matter of fact, all of you protesters, all of you activists, all of you individuals who are looking for the new world to be ushered in through the works of your hands, your actions, your deeds, your prayers, your connections, your whatever it is you're doing, when someone says nothing is going to change, get as far away from them as the East is from the West. Just don't argue with them. Don't course correct them. That is an indication that you don't want to be around that person in this particular moment. They're either afraid, they are envious, they are jealous, they think they should be at the front of the line, they think their ideas are the best ideas, and they are just in the way. And these young people and these activists and whoever's out here organizing these things, I haven't seen this level of organizing, and I've seen a lot of organizing. I just saw a caravan of vehicles come down Welton Street, and they were all touting Black Lives Matter, abolish rent, and a whole bunch of other things. That takes organizing. I just saw a Juneteenth parade that was put together by Platinum Divas Shaniqua. Fantastic. I saw Black Lives Matter 5280 put together, so many cars coming down 32nd or Martin Luther King Boulevard that it took hours for them. It took more than an hour for them to cross Colorado Boulevard. That takes organizing. That takes planning. If you are asleep right now in this moment, that's your fault. It's right in your face. And if you are individuals that would murder a Black body in Atlanta right now, that speaks volumes to the institution that you say you are representing. You have your commanders, your command staff, your chiefs, your everyone that can't tell you to sit down for a minute. Always, and then you got the police unions going to Donald J. Trump, crying and bawling and snotting and crying and begging and saying things like, no one wants to be a police officer. We're down 63% in our recruiting. Why? Because of you. It's your institution. No one wants to join you because you can't control some yeehaws that in the midst of a global emergency can't resist killing a Black body. That's not agitators. That's not Antifa. That's not ACAB or whoever. That's not the Boogaloo. That's you. That's you. And then you're going to start gaslighting. You're going to talk about, oh, they tore up Atlanta. They burnt it down to a crisp. Why? Because of you. Because of you. You can't get in control of those yeehaws that have no intention to be law enforcement officers. They have a badge and they've used it in hateful ways to seek out and murder Black bodies. I mean, what part am I missing? I don't know what happened in Atlanta. I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't even watch those images much. I have not even seen the brutal public execution of George Floyd. I've seen snippet images, but I haven't watched the video. I didn't see the funeral. I didn't go in through all I need to know is that law enforcement murdered another Black body. How many of you heard of the name Curtis Germany? Curtis Germany. Anybody heard of Curtis Germany? Anybody heard of Squirt? Anybody heard of these names of folks? Curtis Germany was in a wheelchair. I know folks that the police shot up the car so much that they thought they was trying to kill an elephant, and the investigation was about how many bullets does it take to kill one person. So, dear police, I'm going to tell you this one more time. We're not afraid. Our elders have told us, and I was just having a conversation with those who have a long history of being abused by you, so much so that they organized and created the Denver Black Panther Party, saying things like, thank God for body cameras and cell phones, because that stuff that they're doing right now is what they've always been doing. Now it's just being seen. So if anybody is on Zoom, there's a link in the description. And if you want to talk about what's happening in Atlanta or in this nation around policing, and then again, I'm going to make the offer once again and shout out to the sheriff of Arapahoe County for tuning in last program last week and calling in. Law enforcement, you're more than welcome to call in, right? Just hit that link. I'll bring you up on Zoom and you can give me your take. You can tell me why it was important to murder another Black body. You can tell me about how hard your job is. You can tell me about how come you need to be militarized, like you're going to war in Afghanistan and Iraq, but you're like in downtown Denver, or you're like in downtown any place USA waging war because you've got all this stuff. You can get on right now. The ones that are saying, Brother Jeff is talking crazy again. He doesn't know what he's saying. Police do not kill Black folks. That just happens every once in a while. That's an anomaly. Here's what you need to know about our job. It's so hard. We're so scared. We're so nervous. We need some more training. We need implicit training. We need explicit bias training to tell us that we subconsciously hate Black people. The link is right there. And I'll shut up. I'll let law enforcement line. The law enforcement line is open. The law enforcement line is open. Anybody who wants to say it's time to sing Kumbaya and lock arms with the police right now when they can't get control of the bad apples, which is a bad barrel, and you got these police unions crying to Donald Trump, crying to I don't know what we're gonna do. We're still in a dangerous situation. We don't know. We don't know. You got all the guns. You got all the intelligence. You got all of the tanks. You got all of the little robots. You got all of the handcuffs, and you're sitting up there crying to Donald Trump. Why don't you just stop killing Black bodies? Somebody call. Like, can somebody hit that link and tell me what's happening in Atlanta right now? I don't care where you're calling from, where you're at, any part of the world. Just call it, hit that link. I'll bring you up, and you can tell me what's happening in Atlanta right now, because I don't know. I haven't even been home. As a matter of fact, and when I'm home, I don't even have television. But what I do know is my brother called and said, in caps, they killed another Black man this morning here in Atlanta, city about to go crazy. City about to go crazy. Is this new? See, this hate is so intense that the nation can crumble all around you, and your heart is so hard, it's not even rusted anymore. It is just rock solid hard, that in the midst of all of this turmoil, the end result of your day is killing a man who was at a drive-through. I don't know the details. Perhaps somebody can call me. I wish somebody from Atlanta would call me. Somebody who's like right there on the ground. The link should be in the description. The link should be there. And so you know what I'll do? I'll put the link right in the chat as well, because I just want to hear from somebody. I want to hear from some average individual person who's watching this. And police officers, law enforcement, you get first stab at it. You get first, like officers, anybody in law enforcement. I'm talking about current. I'm talking about retired. I'm talking about somebody who understands this more deeply than I in terms of why it's necessary to murder Black bodies And then when the people blow up because of what you did, you want to point the finger at looters. You want to point the finger at outside agitators, but you never want to say, we keep murdering folks and we keep causing social unrest. And now the people want to defund us, and some folks don't even want us around. Just go to the chat, raise your hand, like if you're there and you want to say something, just put your hand up. But I'm waiting for officers first, and I'm waiting for somebody from Atlanta. I want to hear from Atlanta. I want to hear from Atlanta. I want to hear from somebody. See, law enforcement has nothing to say right now, except I wish he would shut up. I wish he was one of them scared Negroes that we used to, one of them moist leaders that fear us because when we find them, we's gonna get them. You know, they don't understand that they're getting got right now. I don't know what's happening in Atlanta, but Atlanta's about to go up. It's about to, and then tomorrow they're gonna show all of the images of property. They're gonna shift the narrative. They're gonna shift the narrative. And it's gonna be all about property. So, dear law enforcement, anyone retired, current, I will stop talking and I will listen to you. I will listen to you. I will listen to you. It's on Zoom. Just say, hey, Brother Jeff, there should not be a reimagining of law enforcement. The things that you are saying is totally unnecessary. Like when you say, Brother Jeff, when you say that the police should carry on their own personal insurance, that they need to pay for to ensure their actions so that when the police kill innocent folks, Brother Jeff's tax dollars shouldn't have to pay for his behavior or her behavior. When I say silly things like the police should be licensed through DURA, the Department of Regulatory Affairs, just like somebody who has to braid hair. Like if you got to get a license to braid hair and to put a perm in somebody's hair, don't you think you should get a license to be a police officer? And we can go in and look at your record. And I'm not talking about that internal stuff either. Not your fraternal order police kind of watch. Brother Jeff has seen your investigations, by the way. So all of that stuff that leads to no conviction, that leads to no ability to convict officer. We know how that is because we've seen your investigations into matters as it relates to your blue brothers, your blue sisters. See, what you're probably hearing is, oh, Brother Jeff's talking about the police again. No, I'm not. I'm talking about your inability to find some yahoos that would murder a black body in the midst of a national emergency. I hear he ran away with a taser. Was he running away? Wanted the taser back? Was that it? You I want my taser back. And he might, hey dude, you took my taser. I need my taser back. I'm gonna kill you. You go there. If you go and say you want to be a beautician and you say you want to be a barber, they're gonna be like, yeah, you're gonna have to get this license to cut Brother Jeff's hair. But the police don't need a license. They just need to pass and go through and be internally vetted. And then all of a sudden they're an officer. What's going on in Atlanta? I don't know. I was hoping someone would call and tell me. Like somebody who's been watching the news. Someone who's watching the news. Someone has been posting this, and I want to know about this also. Cops investigate. Let me switch to this for a second. I'm going to pull this up. This is from the KRON 4, California. Cops investigate hanging death of Black man in California, second in 2 weeks. Let's talk about this for a second. Talk about who can come on and talk about this. Palmdale, California. Their authorities in Southern California, city of Palmdale, are investigating the death of a 24-year-old Black man found hanging from a tree near City Hall, which was originally described as an apparent suicide, prompting outrage in the community. So now Black folks are going to City Hall to hang themselves. Like, they're protesting in Palmdale. Hundreds of protesters took to the streets of Palmdale, marching from the park where Fuller's body was found. Robert Fuller. Do we need to say his name? Robert Fuller. I wonder if he was like an activist. You know, like, do you all realize that there were like 3 or 4 activists in Ferguson that have been found burned to death in their vehicles? Like, now Black folks are burning themselves in vehicles and hanging themselves, and Sandra Bland. Am I alone in saying that we are at a tipping point in this country and perhaps this world? Am I the one that maybe I'm just, I don't, maybe I'm just, I don't. But I know there's a whole bunch of other folks that have been pretty much outraged right now. And I don't know about what's going on in Palmdale and the hanging, but I do know that a black student athlete up in Fort Collins was just had a gun pulled on him. Anybody hear about that? Weren't we just in like Fort Collins up in that area where the students were running around in blackface? I think it was like a joke. And then they had they were talking about the environment that immigrants are in, and that student environment and Black folks are in, where they are being met with chants like "build the wall," and right there in the plaza, "build the wall," and then they're bringing in the baby Trump as the guest speaker and all that stuff. And are we in a moment where there are people in law enforcement that have been placed there to particularly incite racial animosity and to create the environment that we're in right now? Like, is this a moment that we just think is an accident? Like, is this the moment where there are certain people in certain positions, regardless of the training, regardless of the oath that they've taken to uphold the law, they've joined in law enforcement simply to incite situations like this? Because why would a Black body be destroyed today by the police in the midst of what's happening right now around the police? Have the police been infiltrated to the point where it doesn't matter if you're a Black chief, if you're a Latino, a Latina chief, a Native chief, or whatever kind of chief? The institution in and of itself is being infiltrated with hate, and they are stoking the fires of this race riot and race war and destruction of either about the races or just the system in and of itself. Like, am I the only one who's like looking at these things? All right. Well, I don't think it's an accident. So for those of you who thinks it's an accident, good for you. I don't. I just don't. I do not think it's an accident. Just don't. I think all of this is orchestrated. And maybe, you know what? I would go so far as to say, and maybe it's orchestrated by even within the police departments themselves that are fighting tooth and nail to keep their power. They keep it so violent to where they prove the fact that they need to be overly funded with violence. Like, is that too far-fetched also? Or no? Like, no. Like, how far would you go to keep your funding? Like, how far would you go? Because if this new world of justice is being birthed, how far will the system go to make sure that everything remains the same? I'm going to tell you guys something. The violence is probably going to get a lot worse before it gets a lot better, because the system won't listen, the system won't change. Individuals will listen, individuals will change. There are some individual good cops, there are some individual good law enforcement individuals, but the system is rooted in hatred, it's rooted in the destruction of Black bodies, and that's what it is. And so it probably, as a matter of fact, not probably, needs to be imploded, exploded, and rebuilt from the bottom up, because what you have is being proven daily to be shown that reform is not the way to deal with law enforcement in North America. Just saying. So whatever's happening in Atlanta, I'll go and I'll go watch some of it. I'll come back and talk about it next week. But I have a feeling that Atlanta's going to explode tonight. And since they are already ahead of time, Atlanta's probably already exploding. And if it ain't, I'd be surprised. Why? Because again, law enforcement can't figure out a way to not be infiltrated by hate and hateful individuals who are doing everything they can to keep the Negras in their place. And how do I know it can be different? Because if those white officers were approaching a white person, that white person would probably be going home right now. And if you think that I'm making that up, every one of you in law enforcement, if you would not have shot your child, your nephew, your cousin, or your father, or your mother, or your sister, but you shot somebody else's, you have a problem. In the very same situation, if you would have murdered your father or shot your father to death in the name of upholding the law, if you can discern about how to make sure your daddy or your son goes home, but you can't do that to someone else's dad or someone else's son, don't tell me about implicit bias training. Don't tell me about all of the dangers of your job. Just recognize your hateful ways, your internal fear, and the reason you shouldn't be on the police force. How about that? If your child would be going home tonight, but someone else's is not, then you are a hateful individual, and all the implicit bias training in the world can't help you, because you can discern how to not kill your children. You can discern how not to kill your nephews and your nieces, but you can't figure out how not to kill someone else's. Don't tell me about how hard your job is. And that's why none of you will get on this link right now and say, Brother Jeff, what you're saying makes absolutely no sense. The lines are open for law enforcement. Anyone, anywhere in the world. You carry a stick, you carry a badge, you got a retirement, you got a take. Get on here right now and tell me how dangerous your job is and how you got to protect the world from looters and outside individuals. But you'll forget to say how all of this is because of your organization. This started because of law enforcement. And that's why we took DPD out of DPS. That's why people want to defund you. If you're so concerned about young people, why did DPD stop funding PAL Athletic League? In the East Coast, they call it Pop Warner. You're ready to be funded to police our children, but now all of a sudden you can't figure out how to fund baseball and football and track and all of those different things, but you want us to keep giving you money for tanks and guns and tasers, and someone runs away with one of your tasers and I am a taser back, and you go and you murder them. And that's why no one wants to join your profession. It has nothing to do if they're not safer. Mr. Donald Trump, we the union, we the fraternal order of police, and no one wants to join us because they're being unarmed. They're not given the adequate equipment that they need to get out here and fight crime. And we're down 63%. You're down 63% because you're 63% rotten. Nobody wants to be around you. Good people don't want to be around you. And it ain't that you need more guns and you don't need a bigger bulletproof vest and you don't need a thicker helmet. All you need to do is stop killing black bodies. That's what you need to do. Figure that out. Defund the police. Take their money and put it into social workers. Take that money and put it into mental health providers. Take that money and put it into youth programming. Take that money and put it into the elderly, and take all of them guns, weapons, and tanks away from these police, that when they show up, it's like, woo, raha time, times to go fight some crime, time to go to war. If you want to go to war, join the military. Plenty of wars all over. United States has been at war ever since it's been created. I don't think the United States has not been in war for more than 10 or 15 years. A war after war after war after war after war. You don't have to go to war with your own citizens. Join the military. We've got plenty of wars for you to fight right now. How about that? Don't go to war with your own citizens. Go to brotherjeff.com, make a donation of any amount. And even right now, you can go get your Black Lives Matter, your I Can't Breathe shirts. They're still discounted at brotherjeff.com. We'll get them to you. And those shirts are produced by an organization locally called GRASP. And guess what? They hire young people in our community. And if you got fear in your heart, get some chubby curls and rub it on your little hard heart and on your fearful heart or your hard heart, make it soft. If you're fearful, rub some courage on it. And then also, you can also put it on your hair and educate the natural community one scalp at a time. Chubbycurls.com. Police, you guys need to get this thing together and quit waiting for us to try and figure it out for you. We don't want to have a meeting. We don't want to have we don't want to have a panel. We don't have a discussion. We don't want to just stop killing black bodies. Figure that out. If you know how to stop killing your own children, like for example, if you pulled up on the scene and it was your son standing in front of you and you wouldn't kill your son, then don't kill somebody else's. There's another way to apprehend them individuals. And by the way, the Aurora Theater shooting, remember when the white guy was in Aurora Theater shooting up everybody and throwing bombs and hand grenades and killing up everybody, and the police show up, see the guy sitting out there in war equipment, and you want to give him a sandwich or something. Don't even recognize him. He's sitting right there now in jail. How about that? You guys got to pull this thing together because the country is coming apart at the seams. Justice is being birthed in right now. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. Justice is being birthed in right now. And guess what? It's being birthed in by white folks, black folks, brown folks, red folks, yellow folks, straight folks, gay folks, rich folks, poor folks. Everybody's tired of this crap. And I've just seen miles of them just past Brother Jeff's Cultural Center, miles of them, just miles. And guess what? Most folks in Colorado don't look like me. Even they're tired of you. So that tells you that your children are tired of you and you're some trifling parents. When your children ride on you, you're some trifling parents. Your children are riding on you. You're a trifling parent. Them kids don't look like me. You children, they might look like me in Atlanta. I don't know what's happening out in these streets in Atlanta right now. But my brother in Atlanta says it's about to go to a whole nother level in Atlanta. A whole nother level. Colorado is the white people's Harlem before Harlem was gentrified. It is so white folks say it's white. And guess what? They're pissed off. So who are they riding against? Their daddy, their mama, their system. That means you're a trifling parent. When your children ride on you, you're trifling. How about that? Your children are riding against you. Your children. Like, that's not embarrassing to you? Like, you know what? The reason no police will call in here because they don't have permission to call. Any good soldier knows not to call, not to say anything. But there's some retired ones. They don't even have nothing to say. Your whole institution has nothing to say for you. But you want to say it's about looters. You want to say it's about outside agitators. You want to say it's about something else. Guess what? There's a mirror. It's about you. And no one wants to join your ranks. And it ain't because you're being disarmed and you're being defunded. And you can talk to Trump all you want to, Fraternal Order of Police, about why people don't want to join you. They don't want to join you because your children are ashamed of you and they're riding on you because you can't figure out how to stop murdering Black bodies. And that's because your heart is so hard. Your heart doesn't even have any water in it. If Moses hit your heart with a staff and it broke it in half, no water would even come out. That's how hard your heart is. And all you can think about is, we got to shut him up. Okay, no, this isn't about me. Go look at what's happening around this world. And now you're sitting up there saying, our beloved institution is under attack. It's under attack. I mean, they don't understand it. We don't understand and we don't care. We're tired of being murdered by you. Stop crying, stop whining, stop gaslighting, and stop killing Black bodies. And those whatever they're doing, they're setting you up, and you don't have enough sense to clean out your own institution. And so now you're just as rotten as the ones that are killing Black bodies because you can't even see them in your midst. I'm from the hood. I can spot somebody that's about to be about some drama 1,000 feet away. I don't need no training. You're with these yahoos every single day in roll call. You know who the yahoos are, but you can't root them out because that corrupt Fraternal Order of Police and the rest of them going to constantly defend them. You know why? Because they're rotten and their hearts are hard too. They need to put some chubby curls on them hard hearts and warm them up so they can see what's happening out here in the world, and it's happening everywhere, and your institution doesn't have enough sense to course correct. You'd rather let the country unravel at the seams so that you can get another tank, so you can get another bazooka, so you can get another infrared thing, or you can kill somebody who ran off with your taser. Running with my taser. If you wouldn't have murdered your own son, then you murdered somebody else's, then you are just as corrupt and as crooked as the day is long. That institution is a long way from being respected, and every day it's getting less and less respected. It's getting less and less respected. Now, with that being said, I'm going home. I'm going home. And I'm not, you know. I can tell you, it's going down in Atlanta. And I've got family in Atlanta that is letting me know what's happening on the ground. It's going, and when they call, I say it's going down in Colorado. Colorado is doing the dang thing. And when white folks is mad at white folks, you know what that leads to. Thank you very much. Make sure you went to brotherjeff.com, made a donation of any amount. Thank all the patrons who have continually given to this platform. We're at a crossroads. And this is the difference between justice and injustice. There are enough people right now watching that are tired of injustice, and they are signing up for the struggle. and they look just like the system. And guess what? Your children are afraid of you, and your children are disgusted with you, and your children do not respect you, and you need to clean that up. Y'all been doing this for a long time. And just like the elders in our community who are Black Panthers who said, Brother Jeff, thank God for body cameras and thank God for cameras because we survived all of that, or we were killed by all of that over a long period of time. So everybody, I want you to listen to this very closely. When you hear law enforcement crying, weeping, whining, and talking about how dangerous it is, and when you hear people talking about looting and burning and destruction, look them in the face and say, it's because of you. Because of you and yours. Because of you and yours. That has nothing to do with us. Take ownership of it, clean it up, and let's all live in a just society, because that's what we're fighting for. If you go down swinging, you just might score a knockout. Atlanta is about to go down. And guess what, police? It's because of you and yours. And since you won't fix it, the people are frustrated and they're letting you know how they feel.